I'm still at TIFF and I finally saw Palme d'Or winner. It was just an accident. With my expectations sky high from Neon's previous winners Parasite, Titan, Triangle of Sadness, Anatomy of a Fall, and Anora, though it was just an accident might not be the strongest of that lineup in my opinion, this still exceeded my expectations in almost every single way. And not only is it one of my favorite movies of this year, but it has one of my favorite endings to a movie of probably the decade. My favorite review of this film reads, Jafar Pahani's Khan triumph sends a warning to authoritarians everywhere. And this is because it feels like it really captures rage, but in a really interesting way. Now, if you don't know the backstory of this film, the director Jafar Pahani was actually arrested and sentenced to 6 years in jail for criticizing the Iranian government. Pahani also filmed this movie pretty much fully illegally to the point where you can't even find pictures of most of the actors and actresses online. They filmed without a permit, and in the Islamic Republic, women are by law required to wear hijabs, which they don't in this film. The reason I bring all of this up isn't just to say that, oh, this movie was made to criticize this specific government. I mean, it was, but I think further than that, it's a really interesting exploration of anger I've ever seen in obviously a format towards a governmental figure, but it's also done through fear and guilt of humans and what that leads them to do, whether they're justified or not, which I think, and I think most people who watch this movie will agree, that the cast of characters, the fear and anger and hatred that they feel towards a certain someone, it's all warranted, but it's the way that that fear is explored. It's the way that we are able to understand these characters' anger through sympathy. This movie comes in at under 2 hours, and I think the level of care that goes into each and every single character, though every character might not have the most depth, all of the character relationships are so well developed and they're so interestingly tied together that you don't need an hour of exposition to get you to care about them. You just instantly do, because the catalytic events, they're so real and they suck so much that you have no choice but to be invested in these characters' lives. It does governmental criticism in a really comedic way, but not in a way that diminishes it. There's one character specifically played by Muhammad Ali Islamifer. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. I apologize. He plays this character named Hamid, who I think should be nominated for Best Supporting Actor. Honestly, he has so many scenes where I was just absolutely blown away. I was hitting the sit-up meme. He has like no digital footprint, and I kind of get why, because he's the one mainly criticizing the Iranian government and like tyrannical figures. And that's where I think this movie excels so much, in that it is critiquing all of these things, but the character is also hilarious in his actions, and I think it's meant to be viewed in a slightly comedic and dramatic way at the same time, but they're able to implement the criticisms of government so well, in my opinion. Going into the Cannes premiere of this movie, there was actually like little to no details, and then Neon bought it out before it ended up winning Palme d'Or, and I think, though, like I said before, it's one of the weakest of their overall lineups, I still do think it is an absolutely amazing movie in ways that are completely different than their past Palme d'Or winners, in that not only is it criticizing a government, but it's doing it in a way that's based in characters, not necessarily society as a whole, because each character feels like they truly do represent a side of it. They're able to make you care about every person you'd see in a society affected by the government, but they do it in such a simple way. And I think simple storytelling is the best storytelling at times. You don't need to over convolute it, and I think they very easily could have done that here. The lead actor in this film, Vahid Mabaseri, plays a character named Vahid, and he's the most interesting character, though I think the supporting performance might be better. The character in our lead is so sympathetic, yet feels like he could be a killer at times, and that's the whole push and pull of the film that I love. It's this idea of rooting for a sympathetic guy that you know can't kill, but you feel like he has to succeed. The way that his performance is able to evolve, and the way that he has sympathetic actions, all of this is done so well in the writing, and all of the emotion gets across in a way that I've just never really seen in this type of critical film of a government. It's about good winning when evil is the only option, and there's a huge power dynamic that you just can't beat out, because it's literally the people in control. Again, I'm struggling to describe describe it, but it works so well, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about when you see the film. Like I mentioned before, there's so much great simple storytelling in this film, and it's genuinely haunting shit that's put into the most comedic format you can think about, and I think that's why this movie flows so well. There are a lot of sequences that are composed in just one shot, whether it's following one character or the camera literally just sitting on a tripod for 10 minutes straight. It all works just the same, and it doesn't feel like it's done for some level of technical flair. I think at the end it doesn't work to the film's favor, and I'll talk about that just a second here, but for the most part, every technical choice works pretty perfectly. I do want to talk a little bit about spoilers, since I won't be making a separate video on this until Oscar season probably, so if you want to skip to my final score, you can click the timestamp in the description down below. But I do want to talk about the ending specifically and the revelation of the general characters. So obviously the entire film is them having captured Eggball the peg leg, and at the end, during this pretty long one-take sequence, we do find out that this guy is Eggball. They did capture the right guy, and it was not just an accident. It was not the wrong person. This was the guy they wanted all along. I thought the admission of that didn't work as well as I wanted to, but that's not to say the film fell flat, because I do want to talk about specifically the ending that in the beginning of the video I did say is one of the best endings of the decade in my opinion. I think that sequence, since it was done in literally one steady tripod shot take, it was like felt like 20 minutes, but it was probably more like 7 to 10 minutes. The evolution of that, in my opinion, was a little odd, because it goes from our main character Vahid to the girl character that felt like was the most composed throughout the entirety of the runtime, and she kind of loses it. But when she loses it is when Eggball the peg leg actually ends up confessing that he is Eggball, and I just didn't feel like that was warranted for the character to do. It felt like the admission came a little bit too quickly, and I think again it was just because of the composition. The tension didn't rise in a stair-step type of way. It kind of just jumped from 0 to 50 to 100. In terms of the ending of the movie, like I said, it is one of my favorite endings in recent film history, to be honest with you. It's pretty high up there. Pretty much the movie wraps up, Vahid is in his house and he's just walking up the staircase and he hears the squeak of Eggball's peg leg, and obviously he lets Eggball go because he's not a killer. And again, that's the main reason why I like this movie, is the fact that the sympathetic character draws the line somewhere, and they used Eggball's pregnant wife as the perfect example of that, which again I thought was amazing. But to me, and again I would love to hear your thoughts, if you've seen the movie let me know in the comments, but I do think that leg limp and the squeak of that at the very end of the film is just in Vahid's head. I think it's just the idea that this guy is going to haunt him forever, and the fact that he couldn't kill him and get rid of him for good is what's going to stick with him for the rest of his life, and he's just going to hear that squeak come up to him and leave him for the rest of his days. And I find that to be such a compelling ending, especially after you spend the whole film trying to decide if he's actually Eggball and if you're actually going to kill him, and he just ends up haunting you forever. And honestly, to me, that feels more impactful and feels like more of a solidified ending within the character's mind of, yes, this is our character and that's that. He's just living with these effects. We're not going to make him act out of character just to wrap up the movie in a nice little bow tie. At the end of the day, I absolutely loved It Was Just an Accident. It is easily my favorite film of the fest so far, and though I don't know how a lot of the awards promotion is going to work, because this film was pretty much made fully illegally, I do hope Neon does something with the future of this film, because I need more people to see it. It's just that amazing. Overall, I'm gonna give It Was Just an Accident a 9 out of 10. As always, let me know what you guys thought of It Was Just an Accident in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace.